I will call the remote hearing of the Environment and Natural Resources Finance and Policy Committee to order. Today is January 19th, 2021. This meeting is held in accordance with Rule 10.01, which was passed and allows for remote hearings. All remote hearings are recorded and live streamed by House Public Information. The clerk will take the roll to establish attendance.
Hanson, Rick.
Hanson, Rick, present.
Hanson, present. Wozlowick, Amy. Wozlowick, Amy.
Present. Wozlowick, present.
Wozlowick, present. Heisman, Josh.
Heisman, present.
Heisman, present. Acomb, Patty.
Acomb, present.
Acomb, present. Ackland, Susan.
Ackland, present.
Ackland, present. Becker, Jeff.
Becker, present.
Becker, present. Becker-Finn, Jamie.
Becker-Finn, present.
Becker-Finn, present. Eklund, Rob.
Eklund, present.
Eklund, present. Fisher, Peter.
Fisher, present.
Fisher, present. Green, Steve.
Green, present.
Green, present. Igo, Spencer.
Present.
Igo, present. Jordan, Sydney.
Present.
Jordan, present. Keeler, Heather.
Keeler, present.
Keeler, present. Lee, Fu.
Lee, present.
Lee, present. Lippert, Todd.
Lippert, present.
Lippert, present. Lewick, Dale.
Lewick, present.
Lewick, present. Morrison, Kelly. Morrison, Kelly. Nelson, Nathan.
Nelson, present.
Nelson, present. Tice, Tama.
Tice, present.
Tice, present. Morrison, Kelly. Morrison, Kelly, and that will conclude the roll.
A quorum is present. The next item on the agenda is the minutes for Thursday, January 14th, 2021. Representative Lewick, have you looked at the minutes? Representative Lewick?
Yes, Chair, I would move that we adopt the minutes as presented.
Representative Lewick moves the minutes for January 14th, 2021. All those in favor? Say aye.
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 All those opposed? The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is House File 133 by Representative Becker-Finn, Conveying State Land Interest Provisions Modified, State Parks Added to and Deleted from, and State Land Sales Authorized. Representative Becker-Finn, will you move that House File 133 be recommended to be referred to the Ways and Means Committee?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that would be my motion for House File 133 to go to Ways and Means.
Thank you. Representative Becker-Finn, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So House File 133 is the 2020 lands bill. And so this is another one of those bills that was left unfinished due to the disruption of our work in March 2020. So the lands bill, for those who aren't familiar, so every year we have a bill that we call the lands bill that comes from the DNR, and it has to do with the fact that any land sales or purchases by the state that occur on riparian water, so that border water, has to be approved by the legislature. And so that is this bill for the projects and proposals that had been included in that bill. This is exactly the same as the bill that we passed out of Environment Policy last year. So many of you who served on the Environment Policy Committee, this is the same language with the one small authors amendment that we had last year. So in 2020, Representatives Lewick, Nelson, and Lee were all co-authors on this bill, and Senator Rood carried it in on the Senate side. So I am going to now turn it over to my testifier from the DNR to sort of go through more of the details, and then I will be available for any questions members might have.
Ms. Damon, state your name and association for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Susan Damon. I am the Assistant Director for the Division of Lands and Minerals with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. So I'll walk through the bill section by section. Section 1 amends Minnesota Statute Section 84.63 to allow the DNR to convey easements for trails, highways, roads, or flowage for development of fish and game resources, stream protection, and flood control to federally recognized Indian tribes. Section 2 amends Minnesota Statute Section 92.502 to allow the DNR to assess a lease applicant fees to cover the reasonable projected cost of monitoring the construction of recreational trails or facilities on DNR administered state lands. This language mirrors statutory provisions that already allow the DNR to assess such monitoring fees for construction of utility licenses and improvements on easements granted by the DNR. Section 3 adds 36.72 acres to the boundary of Fort Snelling State Park in Dakota County. There is also a corresponding deletion from Fort Snelling State Park in Section 5, Subdivision 1. The boundary changes are intended for a future transfer of custodial control between the DNR and MnDOT that will consolidate management of state lands. These are already state-owned lands and will not change any state ownership. It's just a transfer of custodial control. Section 4 adds 30.07 acres to the boundary of Iron Range Off-Highway Vehicle Recreation Area in St. Louis County. This is also currently a state parcel that is managed by the PCA. It will provide a critical east-west trail connection between Gilbert and Virginia. Section 5, Subdivision 1, again, this is the deletion from the boundary of Fort Snelling State Park. Subdivision 2 deletes 4.02 acres from the boundary of William O'Brien State Park in Washington County. This area within the state park boundary covers a road easement that was acquired by the DNR in 1974. There are building, well, and septic system encroachments that were discovered when an adjacent owner had his land surveyed, and this deletion from the state park boundary will enable the DNR to resolve that encroachment. Section 6 authorizes the private sale of 1.24 acres of surplus state land in Cass County. This is a strip of land for access that was conveyed to the DNR in 2009, along with a shoreline parcel that is now the Horseshoe Lake AMA. The DNR has never developed this access. The AMA is primarily for shoreline protection and gets little public use. The DNR intends to sell the strip of land to an adjoining landowner, but will retain management access to the AMA. Section 7 authorizes the private sale of 0.49 acres of surplus state land in Lake of the Woods County. This strip of land was acquired in 2003, along with a parcel for a public water access that has not yet been developed. The strip of land was intended for access to that PWA, but Lake of the Woods County now built a new county road that will provide future access to the PWA. The DNR intends to sell the parcel to the adjacent landowner, and the adjacent landowner will then sell the DNR a strip of land on the southern edge of the public water access that will allow for future enhancements of the public water access site. Section 8 authorizes the private sale of 2 acres of surplus state land in St. Louis County to New Independence Township at no cost. This parcel was conveyed to the DNR by the township for a fire tower site, but it is no longer needed for that purpose. The 2-acre parcel is also surrounded by township land. Section 9 authorizes the private sale by St. Louis County of 2 parcels of tax forfeited land. And Section 10 authorizes the public sale of 39.5 acres of surplus state land bordering the Red Eye River in Wadena County. This is a parcel that the DNR acquired by County Board Resolution in 1969. It is entirely surrounded by private land and there is no public access. As Representative Becker-Finn mentioned, this is a riparian parcel and the DNR cannot sell it without legislative authorization. Finally, Section 11 makes the sections 1 through 10 effective the day following final enactment. That concludes my remarks. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Damon. Mr. Strohmeyer, are there any other testifiers, or did we receive any written testimony?
We received, Mr. Chair, we received a written testimony from us. I think it's Stephanie Chappelle, but we have not received any other requests to testify. And I see Representative Steve Green has his hand up.
Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do have a couple of questions from Damon regarding the land in Wadena County. In 2015, I don't know if you're aware, but the county entered an agreement with the DNR that they would agree to allow the sale of 2,000 acres next to some public lands for recreational purposes. In exchange, the DNR would be required to sell equal amount of land of the same value within Wadena County. So we're going on 6 years now. Can you tell me where you're at on that sale?
Ms. Damon.
Mr. Chair, Representative Green, I will have to get you the exact number of acres that the DNR has sold in Wadena County, but lands in Wadena County have been included in the last 2 DNR land sales. We held a land sale this fall and there were a number of parcels offered from Wadena County. This parcel, Section 10, we also hope to offer at the next public sale.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The problem, Ms. Damon, is that as I don't know that I have the right figures, and that's why I asked. It looks like even with the 250 acres that was sold last fall, the total number of acres that you've sold is barely over 600. I think it's 602. So you know you're not you're a little over a fourth of the land that was supposed to be sold back to make the county whole in property tax. And on the parcels that you listed last fall, some of them didn't sell, and one of the reasons is the same as this parcel. It is basically underwater. It has no legal access, and if you do buy it, it many times is encumbered by regulations that come from the state. So you're actually offering parcels of land that have little or no value or very little chance of being sold. And I'm thinking that when we're looking at 6 years here now, I would really like to see something stepped up in the way of offering up some property that might be desirable for people to have, even land with access. I mean, you've got a lot of land in Wadena County. And so this has been troubling to me for a very long time. And then the other thing is, when you're considering these lands up for sale, are you taking into account the value of the land as far as the property tax values compared to the land that was sold? That the DNR acquired, excuse me.
Ms. Damon.
Mr. Chair, Representative Green, I will need to go back and get you a full accounting of the lands that have been sold. And I know that we are planning for the 2021 land sale, and there may be additional Wadena County parcels on that. I know that the DNR is striving to meet its commitment to the county. It's very important to us to do that. I don't know that we have specifically looked at the value compared to the land that we acquired. We do have to conduct either an appraisal or a minimum valuation of the land that we do sell. But I will check and try to get you some follow-up information, Representative Green.
Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate that, Ms. Damon. And if you would keep me informed of what you're thinking about selling, I would like to kind of look into that before it comes up for sale. I would like to think that there's enough property there that could be offered that maybe would not need legislative approval. So I may have other questions later, Mr. Chair, but I think my colleagues have some questions as well. If they don't, I'll jump back in.
Members, do you have any other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to note too, I think for folks to keep in mind when the outdoor heritage bill comes forward and in a future meeting that, it kind of makes a good point about the number of parcels of land that may not be desirable for private sale. And, I think the DNR and many of their partners try to do their best to make the best use of that land for the use of the public. So just wanted to make that note. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands, so I'm going to go back to Representative Green if you still have some other questions.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, back to Ms. Damon then. On the fiscal note that came out, the fiscal notes are oftentimes pretty vague. And you've got a proposal that it could possibly generate $34,000. Is that correct?
Ms. Damon.
Mr. Chair, Representative Green, that is correct. The 34,000 would be our estimated values from the lands that would be sold, excluding the parcel that would be sold to the township at no cost.
Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Then the 34,000, is there any accounting in there for what the DNR, what it costs you to advertise this land or to put it up for bids? Is that the net, I guess, or is that the gross of that of those sales?
Ms. Damon.
Mr. Chair, Representative Green, those are the land values of the parcels, and we have authority to recover costs for certain expenses, and those are added to minimum value prices, so we recover our costs.
Representative Green.
So what you're saying is that the cost for selling the property is included in that 34,000.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Damon.
Mr. Chair, Representative Green, no, the fiscal note currently only covers the land values because we don't know at this point what the costs, the additional costs to sell the property will be.
Representative Green.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Are there any other questions? Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Green brought up an issue on here that I just wanted to try and get some clarification on. So lines 2.24 through 2.30, some new language here. The commissioner may assess the lease applicant, and we're just discussing that a fee. Is this something that we could expand on a little bit? So if in years past these kinds of transactions were coming up, how were the costs covered? Was that coming out of DNR's budget? And if it was, why do we need to make an adjustment here if we hadn't previously been requiring that these fees be paid through this new process?
Ms. Damon.
Mr. Chair, Representative Heinzman, this is intended to only be used in a rather limited circumstance for large recreational trails. These costs have been covered in the past, but we are currently doing leases for such large projects that they really dwarf what had been done in the past. And there is, when a recreational trail is constructed, there is a lot more need to monitor than with DNR, just a very basic lease for a few acres of land. And we have found that in some of these projects, there is a need for somebody from the DNR to be on site to ensure that the lessee complies with the restrictions and the requirements that are in the lease. We currently have authority to assess these types of fees with our utility licenses. For example, the Enbridge Line 3 project where it crosses state land. The taxpayers are not paying for those monitoring fees. The company is paying for those monitoring fees.
Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So two things then, I guess. If you already may do this, why do we need to put it in statute? Why do we need to codify it here? And if there are limitations as to what you're wanting to do, I think you just mentioned that in some cases, this is something that you would prefer to use. If there are cases where you wouldn't, why isn't it spelled out here so that we could see kind of where those limits are?
Ms. Damon. Chair, Representative Heinzman, to clarify, we have statutory authority that allows us to assess monitoring fees for construction of utility licenses. That is in law, as is authority to assess monitoring fees for improvements on easements that are granted by DNR. But we currently don't have express legal authority to assess those fees on recreational trail leases. And so that's what we are seeking here. To your question, Representative Heinzman, about when we wouldn't use it in some cases and would use it in others, we issue hundreds of leases to use DNR land, and we wouldn't know until we get a lease request how large the lease area is going to be or what the implications of the lease may be, and it would be really hard to spell out in law what circumstances should be assessed fees and what should not, because there may be even a smaller lease that is very complex and needs somebody on site.
Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick comment. I'm not sure that this was a controversial issue the last go around. I just was not recalling the specifics as to why it was here. So thank you for the opportunity to ask a question. And maybe if there does wind up being a larger conversation in the other chamber, it might be something that comes back up. I don't know that it would, but just putting it on the radar.
Any other questions? Representative Becker-Finn, final comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As this is the second time I've presented this bill in the Environment Committee, I think we're good. And now you guys will know exactly what the lands bill is when I bring the 2021 lands bill at some point later this session. So thank you, members, for your questions, and would renew my motion that House File 133 be referred to Ways and Means.
Representative Becker-Finn renews her motion that House File 133 be recommended to be re-referred to Ways and Means. The clerk will take the roll.
Hanson, Rick.
Hanson, Rick, aye.
Hanson, aye. Wozlowick, Amy.
Wozlowick, aye.
Wozlowick, aye. Heinzman, Josh.
Aye.
Heinzman, I. Acomb, Patty.
Acom, I.
Acomb, I. Ackland, Susan.
Ackland, I.
Ackland, I. Thacker, Jeff.
Becker, excuse me, Becker, aye.
Thacker, I. Becker-Finn, Jamie.
Becker-Finn, aye.
Becker-Finn, I. Eklund, Rob.
Eklund, aye.
Eklund, I. Fisher, Peter.
Fisher, aye.
Fisher, I. Green, Steve.
Green, no.
Green, no. Igo, Spencer.
Aye.
Igo, I. Jordan, Sydney.
Jordan, I.
Jordan, I. Keeler, Heather.
Keeler, I.
Keeler, I. Lee, Fu.
Lee, aye.
Lee, I. Lippert, Todd.
Lippert, aye.
Lippert, I. Lewick, Dale.
Lewick, aye.
Lewick, I. Morrison, Kelly.
Morrison, I.
Morrison, I. Nelson, Nathan.
Nelson, aye.
Nelson, I. Tice, Tama.
Tice, I.
Tice, I. The roll is 18 ayes and 1 no.
The motion prevails. Thank you, members. Next up, we have overview from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. And we're pleased to welcome Commissioner Sarah Stroman to address the committee, joined by Assistant Commissioner Bob Meyer. And also available for questions, Mary Robeson, DNR. So Commissioner, welcome. Please state your name for the record.
Well, good afternoon, Chair and members. My name is Sarah Stroman, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. And Mr. Chair, as you noted, joining me today are Assistant Commissioner Bob Meyer and our Chief Financial Officer, Mary Robeson. So, Mr. Chair, first of all, I just want to say thank you to you and the committee for giving us the opportunity today to give a brief introduction of the work of the DNR. And as I go through a brief overview and then we look forward to taking your questions, we did supply a handout that was posted with the meeting information, and so members can follow along on that overview document. Just briefly, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources has a long history in the state. We were formally founded in 1931 as the Department of Conservation, and then in 1971 renamed as the Department of Natural Resources. Currently, we deliver programs through 7 divisions and 4 regions. We employ 3,900 individuals at any one time. That equates to 2,600 full-time equivalents. And we have a presence in every area of the state. And I think that will become very evident as we get to questions. I know that Assistant Commissioner Meyer and I and our staff get to work with so many of you because our footprint is felt in every part of the state, and every one of your constituents has some relationship with our natural resources. Our work at the Department of Natural Resources is driven by our mission. Our mission is to work with Minnesotans to conserve and manage the state's natural resources, to provide outdoor recreation opportunities, and to provide for commercial uses of natural resources in a way that creates a sustainable quality of life. In pursuit of this mission, we work to ensure Minnesota's waters, natural lands, and diverse fish and wildlife habitats are conserved and enhanced. The Minnesota's outdoor recreation opportunities meet the needs of new and existing participants so that all benefit from nature. The Minnesota's natural resources contribute to strong and sustainable job markets, economies, and communities, and that we demonstrate operational excellence and continuous improvement in service to Minnesotans. In this work, DNR is committed to providing equitable access to outdoor spaces and the benefits afforded by healthy environment to all Minnesotans throughout our work. In addition, within our department, we're focused on attracting and retaining a workforce that reflects Minnesota's diversity. Our budget also reflects our commitment to our mission and the work that I just outlined that achieves that mission. And I'll direct folks to the overview at this time. And if you look specifically at page 4, there is a graphic representation of our budget there. And I think the thing that I most like to point out when talking about the DNR budget, and you can look, it's a somewhat sizable budget of approximately $685 million annually, or 1.3 billion for the biennium. But our funding is a complex mix of sources, and many of those sources are dedicated funds. So if you look at that graphic on page 4 of the handout, the big wheel in the middle shows the breakdown of funds to the department as a whole. And you'll see that only 24% of our budget comes from general fund source. The rest of it comes from a mix of funds, including the Game and Fish Fund, the various legacy funds, Environment and Natural Resources Trust Funds, special revenue funds. And as I said, many of those are dedicated to specific purposes. So our budget, as members who are returning know, has some complexity to it, and as new members will become familiar with it. Obviously, we look forward to spending time with the committee to help understand how those funding sources dovetail with the work that we do in terms of the dedicated purposes of those funds. I'd also like to give just a brief overview of the work of each one of our 7 divisions, and this also is laid out in that handout. We have 6 programmatic divisions, and then we have an operations services division that helps support all of that programmatic work. So I'll start with the Division of Ecological and Water Resources. This division organizes its work into 3 main service categories: our conservation assistance and regulation services, ecosystem management and protection, and inventory monitoring and analysis. Our enforcement division work includes obviously enforcement, law enforcement of our natural resources and game and fish laws. It also includes outreach and safety education. So this includes fish and game education, protection and enforcement, recreational safety and enforcement, natural resource protection and enforcement, as well as general public safety. And obviously folks are aware that we have been doing more in this category of general public safety over the past year, as our licensed peace officers have been needed to assist the Department of Public Safety and State Patrol with certain public safety situations. Our Division of Forestry achieves the state's forestry goals by working on fire prevention, fire pre-suppression, fire suppression, and prescribed burning. They manage DNR administered forest lands and manage timber on school trust lands. They help lead forest management and policy development. They provide technical assistance to communities and private landowners, and developing and distributing forest information to Minnesotans and to our forest managing partners is part of their work. And then finally, implementing the Sustainable Forest Resources Act. Our Division of Fish and Wildlife focuses in 4 areas, and those are monitoring and managing fish and wildlife populations, protecting, restoring, and enhancing key fish and wildlife lands, and our wildlife management area system and aquatic management area system are the main fish and wildlife lands that this division administers. The division works to connect people to the outdoors through hunting, fishing, and other forms of engagement. We do a lot of outdoor skill programs out of this division. And they also administer hunting and fishing licenses and recreational vehicle titles and registrations. Our Lands and Minerals Division works in 3 areas. The first is mine permitting and reclamation. They do minerals management as well as real estate management. And you just heard an example of that with the Lands Bill and Assistant Director Damon. Our Division of Parks and Trails then is our 6th programmatic division, and their work focuses on connecting people to the outdoors through state parks, trails, as well as the forest recreation areas and water recreation, like our water trails. and our public water access sites at lakes and rivers. They also acquire land and create new recreational and conservation opportunities for parks and trails, and connect with outdoor recreation partners to provide a seamless outdoor recreation system at the local, regional, state, and federal level. And I think this is a really important part of our work, recognizing that part of the goal here is to make sure that Minnesotans have these outdoor opportunities, not only through the state system, but in cooperation with our local, regional, and federal partners. Because ultimately, most people don't care who manages the land as long as they have access and they have the type of experience that they're looking for. And then the seventh division is our operations services. And this division is the program that promotes our department-wide coordination and leadership. Things like legal services, our human resources services, strategic goal setting, stakeholder engagement, and really making sure that we achieve our commitment to excellence in all of our other programmatic work. Mr. Chair and members, before I wrap up the overview and move to questions, I just do want to reflect a little bit on this time that we're in with the COVID-19 pandemic and what that has meant to the Department of Natural Resources and our specifically our natural resources and outdoor spaces, and how much those have been valued by Minnesotans during this time. And I think probably, as everyone on this committee is aware, during the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have really seen Minnesotans flock to the outdoors. Those outdoor opportunities, those outdoor spaces have really been a very important place for Minnesotans to find healthy and safe activities to do during the pandemic. We also know that getting outside and spending time in nature is good for our individual well-being. It helps our physical health, it helps our mental health. And, this has been a trying time for people, both physically and mentally. And so having those opportunities to get out into nature, to experience the outdoors has been really important. And we've seen Minnesotans doing that in very large numbers. We sold more fishing licenses this year. We had more visitors to state parks and trails. We had more hunting licenses sold this year. We had more people on Minnesota's lakes. And I want to note that while we really appreciate that, and personally, I think as many of you know, it is my personal passion to make sure that we are providing those opportunities and connecting all Minnesotans with outdoor experiences that are relevant to them. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity in what we're seeing right now. They're, of course, also evident that those opportunities are available to Minnesotans in this time because we have made the investments in them in the past. And so I think as we think about our position going forward, I think it behooves us to think about the investments that we need to continue to make sure that those opportunities that Minnesotans are valuing remain, that we are managing for this potentially larger user base to make sure that we sustain the resource and maintain the kind of quality experiences that Minnesotans have come to expect. Obviously, with more people, there are management challenges that come with that as well. And we look forward to tackling those challenges. And then I think the other opportunity here is to make sure that those outdoor opportunities and those connections that we're making are inclusive and welcoming for all Minnesotans. So those are a few thoughts that I will leave you with, Mr. Chair, and I and Assistant Commissioner Meyer and CFO Robison are happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have several hands up. Representative Heinzman first, and then Representative Lueck. Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Commissioner, for being here today. Really appreciate the opportunity to ask some questions. There's been all kinds of conversations happening over the last months. And this is kind of our first opportunity to publicly have a discussion about a few issues. Maybe you can help us out. So I'll start with one that's right on the top of my radar, just being in lake country and watching as, of course, COVID has impacted so many other areas in state government. Wondering if you could kind of help us better understand how programs like the stocking program and others have been impacted and where the dollars that otherwise would have been spent are and what the plan is to make sure that our efforts are, I would assume, redoubled in 2021. That'd be the first question. And then I am going to have some additional questions about some of the public waters inventory. There's been, in fact, a lawsuit that I think Renville County has entered against the Minnesota DNR, and just going to try and figure out what's going on there. So we'll start with that.
Commissioner Stroman.
Mr. Chair and Representative Heinzman, maybe I'll just note on the public water inventory question, I'm happy to try to answer your question, but as you noted, because there's litigation, there's not a lot we will be able to answer about that. But I think your questions about, DNR activities that were impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and what we maybe didn't do, what we did do, and how we're going to address that going forward are really good questions. So from a high level, the first thing I would say is that really the vast majority of our work continued. Some of that work we had to shift the way we were doing it. So we had to make sure that our field work, for example, was COVID safe. So we made sure that our staff were, traveling separately, not traveling together if they were in the field. Made sure that they had opportunities to social distance in the work and still be able to do the work safely. This was particularly important in situations where our staff come in contact with the public, both for the safety of our staff and the safety of the public. So in our state parks, for example, we closed visitor centers and encouraged folks to purchase their park permits online so that it limited contact. We had to develop some new procedures for our aquatic invasive species inspections, for example. But the vast majority of that work, right, we were able to do that and it went on. There were other activities that were deferred or delayed. So our AIS inspections, for example, was an activity that was delayed a bit while we developed those protocols, but we were still able to do the inspections for the vast majority of the season. An example of the work that we deferred for the year, and you brought that one up, the egg take opportunity. So typically in the spring, we head out to the walleye runs and collect eggs, and then we rear those fish and use them for stocking. We were not able to, at the right time, adapt our protocols for the egg take to be COVID safe in the time we needed to do that. And so we deferred the egg take. We were, however, able to purchase fish from private growers. And so we were able to do the stocking that we felt was critical to do to maintain the quality populations and angling experiences that anglers in Minnesota have come to expect. So, I think what will happen this year on that remains to be seen as we find out what kind of situation we're in terms of the spread and what kind of procedures we can adopt. But I think I can fairly say that we made really careful decisions about things that we had to defer and found either other ways to accomplish the work or felt confident that it would not unduly diminish any resources.
Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two follow-up questions, I guess, relating to each of those issues. When we're talking about the number of counties that are being affected by the issue of the public waters inventory coming up and being revisited, how many counties are specifically being affected? That would help me out a lot. I'd like to know how widespread it is. And my comment would be, if it is affecting a significant number of counties, I think it would make sense that the legislature would be involved in that conversation, because it sounds like it is a significant number, and the impact is matching that significance. And then more specifically on, say, the issue I brought up relative to stocking, I'd like to know, and maybe this is something you'd have to follow up with us, Commissioner, but let's say we did half of what we normally did in stocking. I would assume half of the monies were spent, and that would be available for a future effort. If that isn't the case, I would really like to know what's going on and better understand what the implications and the rationale was in terms of how dollars are spent that otherwise would have actually been a boots on the ground effort.
Commissioner Stroman.
Mr. Chair and Representative Heinzman, on the question of the stocking, we will have to get back to you with the accounting on what we spent on the private grown fish and that stocking effort and how that would have compared to a typical year. So we will make a note of that and we will get you and the committee that information. As for the question of the number of counties in the public water inventory, I am going to ask Bob Meyer if he has that number available because I do not have that off the top of my head.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Meyer.
Mr. Chairman, members, Bob Meyer, Assistant Commissioner DNR for the record. Representative Heinzman, currently our current activity focuses on 2 counties, Renville County and Polk County, which these waters were removed back in 2017. And back then our findings of fact stated that the DNR may review the subject water courses for possible inclusion in the public waters inventory in the future. We removed them back then because our conclusions provided that they had been added when we added them to the list back in the 80s, there was a procedural error within the public water inventory process affecting these limited water courses. So we took them off, stating that we will be revisiting that in the future, and that's what we've done. There's a detailed history on our website under the Public Waters Inventory Program. If you just put that in the search box, you'll see under the main page there are corrections and refinements, additional text dealing with the situation at hand. And I'll also note that we extended the public comment period substantially based upon request for this important issue. The comment that I think you're referring to, Representative Heinzman, was a discussion that happened at the Water Commission meeting where Director Steve Colvin stated that there may be upwards of 50 or more counties that could have corrections. We are not initiating any process to move to that level of re-examination right now. I think the thing that is out there to realize is that when the public water inventory was done, the technology at hand was nowhere near what we have right now. A person could use LiDAR, for example, and have a much more accurate public water inventory, which would probably add more water than is initially on that list right now because of new information we have. So long story short, we're focusing on these additions in Renville and Polk County, and then any additional public water inventory work, certainly we would inform the legislature and counties that would be impacted about that as that would move forward.
Representative Heinzman, if you don't have another question, I'd like to move on. We got about 8 other hands up, if that's possible.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've seen the hands popping up. I think that I have a number of my own members that are probably going to piggyback on that question because, of course, it's going to have a huge impact across the state if some of the posturing that I was referring to, the comments are being made by some folks at the water meeting are accurate. So I thank you, Bob, for that clarification. We'll have to talk more.
Representative Lueck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Stroman and Assistant Commissioner Meyer for joining us today. I guess the first thing I want to do is just make a comment on the conduct of your conservation officers up in particularly in my district on the work they've been doing trying to protect the workers and the general public as we're working on this Line 3 pipeline project. And I've observed members of the public and even members of the legislature, both in the House and the Senate. I'll be charitable and say that they treated your conservation officers in a less than courteous manner when they were asked to vacate clearly property that they were already guilty of trespass because they wouldn't leave without a great deal of urging. So I just appreciate the professionalism that your conservation officers have showed up there and the patience with people, because as one who worked in the industrial environment since high school, so to speak, regardless of your personal feelings about that pipeline, you just put yourself and all the workers in terrible danger when you move into what even appears to be an innocent area where you've got heavy industry trying to do something. So again, keep up the good work. And I know our county sheriff, who's just about worn to a frazzle trying to protect people up there, appreciates that work. One area I would like to and we've had this little bit of this discussion earlier. I've got deer hunters and a lot of other folks who continue to ask me about the status of wolf hunting and trapping season. Our rivals over there in the Green Bay Packer land have already made a formal announcement and are in the planning process for their wolf and hunting trapping season. And so is there any update on what the DNR is going to do? I know the legislature gave the DNR broad discretion on setting those seasons. Looking for a little more specificity if there is on where we're at on a wolf hunting and trapping season.
Commissioner Stroman, and just want to note, I was notified that there might have been a blip in the live streaming. I'm not sure if it's working now, and I know Representative Lee was knocked off the Zoom. I also had a little gap there. So after Representative Lewick, I'm going to go to Representative Lee because he just logged back on and he was in order. So Commissioner Stroman or Commissioner Meyer.
Representative Hansen and Representative Lewick, I'll start with that. And let me just start by saying I understand Wisconsin has made their announcement, and I understand there's a lot of folks really on all sides interested in what Minnesota is going to do with a wolf hunting and trapping season. The bit of a different situation that we are in from Wisconsin is that we started last year an update to our 20-year-old wolf management plan. And those management plans are what guide our management work and decisions going forward. So whether it's a management plan around a species, or whether it's a management plan around a particular habitat, like a prairie management plan, or whether it is a management plan for a specific parcel of land, that is the process by which the public can weigh in, and we can make sure that we have a full accounting of all of the best science and data and information that we have, and blend that all together to guide our management. So we launched that process last year. We are still in the midst of that update. We have an advisory committee that is hard at work. We have a technical committee that is hard at work. We have done a number of virtual open houses and webinars that have drawn, I think, collectively more than 1,500 people. We have had an initial input period for people to share their thoughts on wolf management, and that has, I think that garnered around 4,500 comments. So we are in the process of reviewing those comments, and we intend to have a draft management plan, I think by March, that will be available for public comment. So in terms of a specific decision around management through a hunt or trapping season, our intent is to let that planning process play out and finish the management plan, and then that management plan will determine future decisions from there.
Representative Lewick. Representative Lewick.
Again, anyway, I appreciate that. That's literally no change. I would just ask this, Commissioner and Assistant Commissioner Meyer, if we do any other major reviews, deer hunting, bear hunting, grouse hunting, We do a major review of our state parks. Let us not shut down deer hunting, grouse hunting, fishing seasons, or state parks while we're doing that major review, because that's frankly what's going on right here. You know, we've got longstanding history and procedure and process for conducting these type of hunts. So I just hope that this doesn't become the way we deal with these management updates, that we shut down, basically don't do the normal things that you're fully capable of doing. I guess the other thing, and I know Commissioner Meyer's working hard on this, and we're getting stuff started to get lined up. Calving season is about to start where I live, and so we're going to be getting ugly pictures of a little hair, a couple ears, and a piece of skull from baby calves that have been had problems with wolves. So since we're now delisted, you know, and I say Commissioner Meyer is fully aware, and he's been working on this. We talked about it over the weekend, and as late as this morning, that we certainly make sure that we do everything we can here to minimize the damage that wolves do, because now we've got the state is fully engaged in this, and we still do have assistance from the federal government. But again, I just disappointed that that's what I'm going to have to, you know, the hunting folks that keep bugging me about why we haven't made an announcement on seasons. I'm just going to refer them to the DNR. That's what you get the big bucks for. So I appreciate the time. And again, I just want to make it clear, you know, the professionalism that your conservation officers showed, particularly when they were treated very discourteously, even by members of the legislature several weeks ago, while they were standing in restricted area. Should have been, frankly, if it had been me, I'd have rode a ticket, and they would be facing our local district judge up there in Aiken County. They demonstrated excellent professionalism and patience with members of the public, including members of the state Senate and House of Representatives. So I appreciate that, Commissioner.
Members, I would just encourage that we not have a broad brush alluding to actions that we're not really clear. I'm not clear what happened, and I'm sure the members, not all members or members of the public are. So I just would, I know we support, and you know, Representative Lewick, I'll be authoring the bill to provide for the pay equity for the conservation officers, but our words are important. So I'm going to go with, and Representative Becker, I see you on there, even though your hand is not up. I know you got in and out of the group. So, but I'm going to go with Representative Lee, and then Representative Jordan, and then Representative Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner, for being in front of us today and for providing that overview around the participants of the public in our outdoors right now during the time of COVID. And I just wanted to ask you, or maybe Mr. Meyer, to let us know, have you done an analysis of where these Minnesotans are coming from for the increase in licensing that you have mentioned already before?
Commissioner Stroman.
Mr. Chair and Representative Lee, unfortunately, we do not have a lot of analysis on who the new folks are and where they're coming from. So, you know, what we know is we're up, and you know, what we don't know is, will that last? In some cases, did folks just buy what they normally would have bought earlier, and we'll see a drop off? And we don't know if, you know, some of those were kids coming of age where they now required a license where they didn't before. And so those are things that we'll hope over the next year is to dig into a little bit more and hope to understand, as well as keep an eye on, is this a trend that will continue, and what can we do to influence that trajectory to make sure it does continue? And again, that we're making sure we're drawing folks from all over Minnesota.
Representative Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioner. Understanding the demographics that I have in my district where there may be some issues and, being able to get out there to some of our great natural resources in other parts of the state. Can you tell me, and knowing that, you are facing some budgetary constraint because of COVID, have there been any efforts between the department and some of our local units of government, for me specifically with Minneapolis Park Boards, to try to increase the opportunities of the outdoors for some of our local communities?
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair and Representative Lee, yes, I mean, as I mentioned in the overview, it's really important to us that the recreation system that's available to Minnesotans, whether it's a neighborhood park, a larger city park or regional park or a state park or trail, whatever the outdoor space is, that's really a seamless system. And so we can think about sort of a spectrum, right, from somebody's backyard to the backcountry. And we need all of those kinds of opportunities to appeal to Minnesotans with different levels of experience and different recreation desires. And often some of those more backyard and local opportunities are the way either people get introduced or the way that people have time to fit it into their day because it doesn't take a lot of travel. So we do have formal partnerships in some cases. We also do a lot of work informally with those other recreation partners.
Representative Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all.
Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Commissioner Stroman, for being here. I have a larger question, but before I start, can you clarify something for me? If a wolf is menacing my livestock, do I have permission under state law to kill that wolf?
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair and Representative Jordan, so the situation around wolf control and threat to livestock has just recently changed due to the federal delisting. So under the federal delisting, the USDA Wildlife Services had to come in. You had to show damages and they could come in and do control. There are now more options to that, and we could certainly go into more detail, but just generally, I'll give a brief answer here. There are two zones in Minnesota. There's basically Northeast Minnesota, that's what we call Zone A. That is more protective. So that is a higher standard to prove that damage or immediate threat. And then there is the rest of Minnesota, kind of outside that core wolf range, that is Zone B, and there is a lower standard basically to come in and have control. We also now, as the DNR, have the ability to certify folks who do that control. They do not have to just be the federal wildlife staff now, and so that I think is the initiative that Representative Lueck was referring to, that Assistant Commissioner Meyer is working on, is to get that certification process set up. And my understanding from Assistant Commissioner Meyer is that will be in place before capping season.
Thank you for that. I'm going to turn off my video just because I think I'm having a little bit of trouble being heard. My second question is related to cultural discoveries on public land. So one of my favorite things about our state parks is often the marriage of our rich natural resources, but also our cultural heritage dating back thousands and thousands of years here in Minnesota. Can you walk me through the process and maybe structures in place for when a potential cultural discovery is made on our public lands governed by the DNR? Commissioner
Stroman.
Mr. Chair and Representative Jordan, I can give you a brief thumbnail, and if you're interested in the step-by-step, we can certainly get that to you. But just as a brief response, I will say that yes, you are correct that the cultural resource part is part of the mission of our Parks and Trails Division, and they take special care of those cultural resources, and they employ folks that work specifically in the area of cultural resources. We also work hand in hand with the Minnesota Historical Society and the state archaeologist to surface, prior to any development that might occur, for example, to make sure that we have done that cultural resource survey. We also work very closely with the tribal historic preservation officers if we are on tribal historic lands. So we have a robust process around that to ensure that we avoid or certainly minimize any. I don't want to say we've never made a mistake, but the goal is to avoid any disruption to cultural resources. And in fact, I will say too that we also, I think, are making better attempts at interpretation of cultural resources and making sure that we are more inclusive and more robust in telling the story from different perspectives in those cultural resources.
Representative Jordan.
No further questions. Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Fisher.
Thank you, Chair Hansen. Commissioner, thank you for being here today. My question is on chronic wasting disease. I've got a number of people in my district who are big deer hunters, and they're concerned about the spread of the disease out there, what's being done. And these are hunters who typically go out hunt. They are very happy to, when they get a trophy, they're able to bring it home. They're also able to eat what has been collected. And their concerns is where chronic wasting disease is, what's happening with the general population. And their concern to the point is, are they going to continue deer hunting in the future because of the concerns of chronic wasting disease potentially spreading through the herd?
Commissioner Stroman.
Mr. Chair and Representative Fisher, thank you for that question. Hopefully, folks on this committee are aware that chronic wasting disease is of extreme concern to the Department of Natural Resources. It is something that we continue to want to try to manage very aggressively in order to limit the spread of the disease and contain it to the places where it currently is found in the state. So we continue to have this hot spot in Southeast Minnesota. It is pretty much persistent there now. I think, unfortunately, we had last year the discovery of a positive deer in the South Metro. And so that is an area that we're watching with great concern and want to make sure that we are doing everything we can do to continue the surveillance and monitoring. And we can talk about, if folks are interested, we had to modify the way that we do that this year because of COVID. We still think we got the number of samples that we need to be statistically accurate and making good management decisions. But that's something we'll keep an eye on. And then keeping the population down to a level where we're minimizing the nose-to-nose contact and the animal-to-animal contact. I think, we've had some good news in the central and north parts of the state where we had some positive deer in farmed situations. We had the one in Crow Wing County where we had found the one in the wild that was positive. We have not found more up there. So, there I think is some good news that we're still relatively contained and localized, where we still can make a difference with our management actions. So the general approach is to continue to identify those sources of risk, the movement of animals, the movement of carcasses, that contact, and limit that where we know we have a high risk of transmission.
Thank you. I'm going to move through the 6 other hands before we will have to adjourn at 2:30. So Representative Lippert, then Keeler, then Morrison, then Igo, then Backer, then Becker-Finn. So Representative Lippert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, commissioners. We know that the forests are key partners as we respond to climate change. And one thing we need to be doing is planting as many trees as we can. And so I'm curious about the capacity of the state's nurseries, what the capacity for planting trees is right now, and what sort of investments we need to make to be able to plant more trees, or significantly more, going forward.
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair and Representative Lippert, I won't have specifics to give you in terms of sort of numbers and capacity and dollars in terms of investments. But what I will say is that, we agree that the forests are going to play a really significant role in the state's addressing climate change and in meeting our greenhouse gas reductions in terms of the carbon storage they provide. Grasslands too, but forests is a significant focus of ours. I actually just met with the Minnesota Forest Resources Council this morning, and we were having this conversation about the role that forests are going to play in Minnesota's climate solutions and the role that the council can play in helping coordinate forest managers across jurisdictions and helping incentivize private landowners. So we are looking into some options, to get back to your question about the nursery specifically, to boost capacity there so that we can meet that demand for trees and make sure that we maintain our forested cover in Minnesota.
Representative Keeler.
Thank you, Chair and members. I have a question. I think that we all appreciate the work that the conservation officers are doing to actually protect our natural resources. I think we all agree that we're here because we care about the natural resources of Minnesota. My question is about their training. We talk about it in the greater conversation when it comes to law enforcement. I'm wondering, your officers, what kind of trainings do they do when it comes to cultural competency and implicit bias?
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair and Representative Keeler, that's a great question. And what I'd like to do is have you have a conversation with Colonel Rodman Smith, who's the head of our enforcement division. He is also very concerned about those issues. He has done a lot of work, first of all, on the front end with recruitment and making sure that we are recruiting a diverse force of conservation officers, and with the goal of having our cadre of officers reflect the diversity of Minnesota so that they have some of that lived experience. And then they do go through some cultural competency training. They do some tribal training, specifically given the work that we do with tribal nations and their conservation officers. So we can certainly have Colonel Smith give you some more specifics about the robust training program that they undergo.
Representative Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner, for your service to DNR and the state, and for all you've done to promote outdoor recreation, which, as you noted, has seen a big bump this year, which I think is a silver lining maybe of the pandemic, getting people reacquainted, and in some cases acquainted for the first time with the great outdoors is a wonderful thing. You mentioned when describing DNR's mission that part of it is managing our natural resources and presumably our extractive industries in a way that creates a sustainable quality of life. There's quite a bit of evidence that that is nearly impossible to do with non-ferrous mining. So with that in mind, I have two questions. One, do you think current regulations are adequate for non-ferrous mining so that our water, land, and public health are protected? And then two, Polymet, I think we can all agree, is a shell corporation for Glencore. Glencore is not on the permits for that project. And I'm wondering, will Antofagasta be on the permits for the Twin Metals project?
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair and Representative Morrison, thank you for those questions. And I will just acknowledge, obviously, these the issues around our extractive industries and mining in particular, and the non-ferrous mining, lots of perspectives in Minnesota, lots of passion on that. And so, we will have many more conversations around those issues. With respect to your first question, that is actually a question on which there is litigation at this time. And so we are going to be looking at that question. So I'm going to defer responding to that. And I think we'll get to that through that process. For your second question, the short answer is I don't know, because we are only at the very early point of the environmental review, and we are not at a point in permitting where I could speculate as to how that will play out. We aren't close to permitting yet.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Representative Igo.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioners, for being here today. So as kind of mentioned already, we were talking about the health of our forests and how important that is going to be to the future of Minnesota. So my question today is in regards to the standing of our loggers and just how important they are to the forest industry and our forests in Minnesota. I know through some conversations I've had back in district that 1/3 of all of our loggers in the state of Minnesota did not complete their Minnesota logger education programs on time due to COVID restraints and trainings. So I'm just wondering what role the DNR is playing in trying to mediate these issues and get our loggers certified so they can get back to work doing the jobs of keeping our forests healthy and keeping our industry alive.
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair and Representative Igo, I am aware of that issue. It is the Department of Labor and Industry that administers that requirement. I know our folks are aware of the situation, and I'll ask Assistant Commissioner Meyer if he has more information on the status, but that primarily is a Department of Labor and Industry question.
Commissioner Becker. Or Commissioner Meyer.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. We are in communication with Department of Labor and Industry, and we're trying to work with them and the loggers as well to get everybody into compliance and tested and back into the woods if they are not able to right now. So it is a priority for us as well.
Representative Becker, I think I gave you a promotion there a moment ago, but so Representative Becker.
We'll let the Chair, we'll let the Assistant Commissioner and Commissioner decide on that. So that's up to them if I could have the honor of being called a commissioner. But anyways, it's good to have a little fun too. So Commissioner, I'm hearing, and I have to be quite upfront, I'm not familiar with everything going on. So I wanted to get your take on this. There's private waters that DNR is looking at making into public waters. Who is, leading the charge for that, and what's the thought behind
that? Commissioner Stroman or Commissioner Meyer?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just jump in here for the sake of time. This is, and Representative Becker, this is the same issue that we were discussing with Representative Heinzman on the public water inventory, where these waters were listed as part of the public water inventory. Prior to 2017, as part of the buffer initiative, we were looking at the PWI, or the public water inventory, and identified that there was an error in the procedure used to notify the landowners. And in this case, Representative, I'm assuming you're talking about in Polk County, there's one segment that we're looking to put back on. It's 2.1 miles in Slayton Township. It's an unnamed creek to Sand Hill River. So we're working through the process on that. And as we talked about, this is under litigation. The department's being sued by Renville County. So I have limited things I can say, but certainly let's get some time together and I can brief you on where we're at, how this occurred, and get you up to speed and listen to your concerns as well, and move forward in that manner, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, but just a comment, and this is for the other members. I'm sorry. Thank you, Chair. Back in the 80s, when they started this in the early 1980s, a lot of that information on public and private waters was not done correctly. And then buffer came out, because back in the 80s, things were done through only one newspaper, like in Big Stone County. It was done through, the Independent, Ortonville Independent. It wasn't done in the Clinton paper or the Graceville paper or the Johnson or Barry. So a lot of this stuff was not documented back there good. And then when we had this buffer initiative back in the mid 2000s, people followed this, and it was not the case. As the Assistant Commissioner Myers will know, is we even have historical fact in one waterway in Big Stone County, and we still have not got that. And I know you and I have had many discussions on that. So those public and private, especially public waterways are really, several of them are private, but people did not see what was put in the newspapers back into the 1980s. And why I'm bringing that up to the commissioner and assistant commissioner, I would encourage them to be sensitive to that. These maps in the, because we had that situation in Big Stone County. We even went back into late 1800s and found historical information that that area is private. Now I know the landowners went through 2 court cases and that stuff, but there is information, and I would ask the DNR to be sensitive to that, because out in our neck of the woods, as especially assistant commissioner, he's been out to many meetings, which I have appreciated. There's a lot of hard feelings on private land. It's no different than in the metro area. If the front of the lawn, the city came and said, you know what, water runs down here, and now we're going to say 10 feet of your lawn is public property now. People in the suburban area and in the metro areas that have lawn would be really upset. So I just want to share that with you. And I know Bob, I'm sorry, Commissioner Myers, you've been out several times and we've had some good discussions, and I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Just to note, Representative Backer, about 10 foot of my lawn belongs to the public, because it's that space between the sidewalk and the street. So that is the boulevard that is public property. Usually it's 33 feet from the center of the road. So we do know that quite well. Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if the DNR wants to help me turn that into some pollinator habitat, that would be okay with me too. My question is actually taking us in a totally different direction. So I last year got certified as a firearm safety instructor to do the DNR class for new hunter education. And I know I used to get a lot of emails about different things that were going on in person. And so I'm wondering, with COVID, obviously too, now that it's cold, just wondering if we're still certifying the same number of new hunters, and both new hunters who are adults as well as youth, and thinking ahead to this summer and the opportunities there might be to do some things outdoors, and make sure that those field days are still happening in person. So just wondering if you can share a little bit of an update about where we're at as far as COVID, since that's a class that's typically online maybe for an adult, but I know, like, as a parent, I greatly prefer the in-person for something as important as this. So just wonder if you could speak a little bit to that.
Commissioner Stroman.
Mr. Chair and Representative Becker-Finn, I'm going to defer to Assistant Commissioner Meyer, because he works closely with the Enforcement Division and can talk to you about the various adaptations we've made over time. I will just say I agree with you, and my son got his snowmobile safety field day in a week ago. So they are still going, and they're very important. So we've been working really hard to make sure that we COVID adapt to those. So I'm gonna let Assistant Commissioner Meyer finish that question.
Assistant Commissioner Meyer.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Becker-Finn, first of all, thank you for taking your time and dedicating time to make people safe and get out to enjoy the outdoors and those sports. I too am a firearm safety instructor, and I know how enjoyable that is. The biggest concern that we've had is indoor capacity and sizes, community mitigation. And as we've talked about previously, we are adaptive. We're looking at every time we look at opportunities to respond to where we're at. If we can open things up, we will. We'll provide safe guidance on that. We have shifted to allowing people to use students online as well, and looking forward, if we stay where we are with guidance right now that allow outdoor group sizes of up to 25, we'll figure out a way to conduct those field safety training days with community mitigation in mind, and hopeful we'll be a little bit ahead of that by springtime, but not knowing where the response is. Our first and foremost duty is to make sure everybody participating in those programs is safe. So working with instructors, designing protocols, giving them guidance and documents is what we've been doing in the past. I don't have any current numbers, but we'll get those for you. And everybody's been really understanding, obviously, safety with those programs is really important, and public safety as well, or health and safety. So people are understanding.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Members, we have about 5 minutes left. I do want to note that a couple items that were not brought up, and I think members, we can see there's a large menu of issues with the Department of Natural Resources, and it touches all Minnesotans have some interaction somehow with the DNR. Emerald ash borer, the authorities for dealing with emerald ash borer or EAB are divided somewhat between the Department of Natural Resources and the Department of Agriculture. And I would like at some point that maybe we have a joint meeting to discuss that and how we deal with EAB, because the bugs haven't stopped with COVID. They keep moving. And aquatic invasive species, the carp issue, and just if we're still seeing movement from the invasive carp, and zebra mussels have been a perennial issue as well, and wanting to know about other invasive species. And then finally, I want to give you credit for the pollinator plates that are out there. I think all of us have had constituents that have contacted us. We want to make sure that the pollinator plate money goes to help pollinators. So I don't know, Commissioner, if you want to address any of those. There's plenty of time in the future, but we've got just a couple minutes left.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Those are, each of them is a big issue we could spend a lot of time on. So, but certainly, our commitment to addressing invasive pests like emerald ash borer or the aquatic invasive species, those issues are really important to us, and particularly in light of the changing climate and knowing that these things cumulatively have a greater effect on our native plant and wildlife and fish communities. So we'd be happy to give you updates on any of that, share any information with the committee. That all remains a focus of our work. We also are really excited about the pollinator plate. It's the first new critical habitat plate since 2015, and it's a really attractive plate, and it's also a really important program in the RIM critical habitat program. So we are excited to offer Minnesotans another way to not only show their support, but give some support that goes back to critical habitat. So happy to talk with you further about ideas that you have there.
Thank you. Commissioner Meyer, did you have a follow-up?
Just really briefly on a similar topic, but not on that one. We are in the process of scheduling one-on-one briefings with all of the members on the committee. We've been trying to wait a little bit till the governor's budget announcements comes out, which will be next week, so we can have a discussion about that as well. So look for those appointments or our requests to meet with you. And if you do have any other questions between now and then, please feel free to reach out to me and contact myself, and we will get answers to whatever you have before those meetings. Or if you have a list of things that you'd like us to come prepared to discuss with you, please let us know as we're working through those appointments as well.
Thank you, members. We will need to adjourn. I want to highlight Thursday, we will be hearing from the Pollution Control Agency, and considering the dry cleaner agreement, we have to do an amendment to update some of the dates because of the delay and implementation of that agreement. So watch your emails, and we will try to get everything posted in a timely manner as well. So with that, members, we are adjourned.